We are the storm, and our enemies cannot comprehend our strength, our determination, our resolve, our passion.
September 21st, 2025. White House advisor Stephen Miller spoke at a memorial for the late conservative activist Charlie Kirk.
You have no idea the dragon you have awakened. You have no idea how determined we will be to save this civilization, to save the West, to save this republic.
At the time of this speech, Miller was overseeing the deployment of National Guard troops and militarized immigration enforcement units into democratically run cities across the U.S.
It is so extreme that it unmasks, in a way, the administration. It's not about the worst of the worst. It is about the civilization, the protectors of that civilization versus everyone else.
And just 2 days before, he was involved in directing a strike on a small boat in the Caribbean Sea.
These organizations can only be defeated with military power.
The third of more than 60 strikes that have resulted in over 200 deaths to date.
He's an absolute ideologue.
I would describe it as fascism.
Ice out now! Ice out now!
In this episode of Fault Lines, we traveled across the country, examining the impact of Stephen Miller's agenda and tracing the rise of a former press secretary.
I love this guy. I love this guy.
To one of the most powerful unelected figures in modern American history.
Who's enjoying 100 golden days of America?
Stephen Miller's probably the most powerful person in our government right now. That's frightening.
He is something special. And he's been with us right from day one. Right from day one, Stephen's been there, right? He's been great.
Hey, ho, ho. Stephen Miller's got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho.
Americans have come out across the country today to protest Trump and what they're calling No King's Day. And a lot of those protests are happening in city centers or capitals across the country, but here they've chosen to march to the military base where Stephen Miller lives.
We know that Trump is falling asleep at meetings and barely there. There's somebody who is actually calling all the shots here, and his name is Stephen Miller.
Stephen Miller is really the architect of everything that's happened in this country to shut down legal immigration and vilify immigrants and drive them out of the country.
Just months earlier, Miller oversaw the deployment of more than 2,000 National Guard troops to Washington, D.C.
We are not going to let the communists destroy a great American city, let alone the nation's capital. So we're going to ignore these stupid white hippies that all need to go home and take a nap because they're all over 90 years old, and we're going to get back to the business of protecting the American people and the citizens of Washington, D.C.
Thank you, Stephen. A few questions.
We spent a long time in high school and beyond dismissing Stephen Miller, and now it would be helpful for all of us to understand just where that came from and how to combat it, because it's powerful.
To learn more about Stephen Miller's meteoric rise, we spoke to people who grew up with him in Santa Monica, California.
Yes, this is our Lincoln Middle School yearbook for 8th grade. Yeah. You can see it's a super diverse group of kids.
Mm-hmm. Janess Hartley was a classmate and a friend of Miller's from middle school through graduation.
We were in AP government, U.S. government together. He was extremely pro-war, obsessed with the weapons of mass destruction, and that Saddam Hussein was a war criminal. That was his obsession.
A video of him expressing this surfaced early in Trump's first term.
But as for Saddam Hussein and his henchmen, I think the ideal solution would be to cut off their fingers. I don't think it's necessary to kill them entirely. We're not a barbaric people. We respect life. Therefore, torture is the way to go.
Keisha Ram followed them 1 year behind.
Stephen really wanted to be heard. He wanted people to know his opinion and to care about his opinion.
Santa Monica is one of the wealthiest cities in the United States and a progressive stronghold in California.
I think Stephen hated Santa Monica. I think that is so much of what's wrapped up in Stephen's hatred of liberalism.
The left-wing politics and changing demographics of the city were reflected in their high school.
even though he grew up with Hispanic friends in a school with a lot of Hispanic population. Something about it was very bothersome to him.
He could still really shame people back into the shadows by talking about their parents' working class jobs.
There's the famous one from high school that we filmed when he was running for a student body office.
Am I the only one who is sick and tired of being told to pick up my trash? We have plenty of janitors.
We had a message board, and he was always talking about people's needs to learn how to speak English, and he felt that Mexican immigrants didn't want to learn that, and that was somehow an affront to Americans that they refused to do so.
If you want to stop illegal immigration, you must therefore be racist, and that's bull. 790 KBC Talk Radio. The time is 3:55. The number is 1-800-222-KBC, and this is Larry Elder.
When he was still in high school, Miller began calling into the conservative radio program, The Larry Elder Show.
His shtick was to constantly rat out his own school.
They won't allow us to do the Pledge of Allegiance every day. They aren't respecting the American flag.
And all the things that he had to endure at our high school.
Because Stephen Miller was a minority voice in his diverse, largely progressive public high school, he could inhabit this persona of being a persecuted minority, and that ideology really spoke to him, this ideology of white male grievance.
He would appear on Elder's show 69 times while still in high school.
Larger figures
that caught the attention of far-right activist David Horowitz.
We have a serious problem in the world in fanatical Islamic terrorists.
David Horowitz told me he was worried that Stephen Miller wasn't going to get a job, that he wasn't going to get into college, and he really took it upon himself to do everything that he could to protect Stephen Miller and to give him opportunities.
And it is my honor to welcome to the podium David Horowitz.
He was sort of a foot soldier for Horowitz's whole project of creating like a particular strain of right-wing insurgency on the campus.
I don't think that he would have become the Stephen Miller that we all know if he hadn't then met Larry Elder and David Horowitz. That was really what kind of sealed the deal in terms of him becoming someone really radical in his ideology.
Miller began working in politics at a time when some members of the Republican Party were joining Democrats in pursuing a pathway to citizenship for undocumented immigrants.
Many of them make valuable contributions to our society and will provide even more if they're brought out of the shadows and in compliance with our laws.
One of the most important Republican senators in blocking Obama's attempt at a comprehensive immigration reform package was Jeff Sessions of Alabama.
When these 11 million are legalized, they'll then be able to take virtually any job in the marketplace. Many now.
One of Jeff Sessions' main aides was Stephen Miller. That's really when he became a player. You could argue that set the stage for a strongly anti-immigrant candidate like Donald Trump to run for president and win.
Sessions would go on to be the first senator to endorse Trump for president in 2016, and Miller joined as a speechwriter, making his hardline immigration stance the driving force of the campaign.
Starting in January of 2017, illegal immigration will be a thing of the past.
It was a winning formula.
Trump would never have come on the scene and captured my hardcore MAGA radio audience if he didn't harp on immigration. So it's his signature issue. Stephen Miller is the brains behind his signature issue, every aspect of it.
During Trump's first term, some of Miller's most hardline immigration policies, like family separation, faced resistance from the courts, Democrats, and even officials inside the administration. But the experience was valuable.
He and Trump and everyone on the right had 4 years to kind of think about what didn't work last time in terms of advancing their agenda and where the real levers of power are in Washington, and to prepare for that so that they could really come out swinging this time, and they did.
You have a right to want a country that is of, by, and for Americans and only Americans.
And he's making it so they don't make the same mistakes that they made in the first administration. They're just not slowed down by fear of Congress or ugly politics or the administrative state.
Please welcome to the stage Senior Advisor to President Donald J. Trump, Stephen Miller.
Miller returned in the second administration as Deputy Chief of Staff for Policy and Homeland Security Advisor.
It's going to mean an executive order ending the border invasion, sending the illegals home, and taking America back.
Having grown up with him, it makes you realize that it isn't the smartest person he went to high school with who's running the country. It's the most shameless person.
I mean, he was the press flack, and he suddenly became somebody who was designing immigration policy in the United States.
Within days of taking office, Trump signed a series of executive orders shaped by Miller that restricted immigration, expanded deportations, and declared a crisis at the southern border.
This is a proclamation guaranteeing the state's protection against invasion based on the current crisis at the southern border.
The Trump administration has essentially shut down the southern border and shut down access to asylum for millions of people.
In 30 days, the president sealed the border shut, declared the cartels to be terrorist organizations, has increased ICE deportations to levels not seen in decades, and we are shortly on the verge of achieving a pace and speed of deportations this country has never before seen. Thank you.
To see the impact of these policies for ourselves, we traveled to the southern border in California. The administration has expanded construction of the border wall here, and aid groups say fear of detention and deportation is keeping many migrants away, leaving some stranded in dangerous border cities in Mexico.
They say that illegal border crossings here are at an all-time low, which the Trump administration claims is evidence that Stephen Miller's immigration agenda is working.
He believes that the country's in a state of emergency. It is a consuming obsession. He believes that the presence of undocumented immigrants in this country, and really of anyone who doesn't conform to his image of Americans, is an urgent, immediate threat on a par with 9/11 or Pearl Harbor.
I think Stephen Miller and others in the administration truly believe that they need to save white civilization from these invaders.
These people chose to invade us. So there's a lot of concern from the corporate media about the invaders, but they chose to invade us.
Miller is able to influence the pace and focus of deportations through his role as advisor to the Department of Homeland Security.
There have been problems with the Department of Homeland Security for its entire history, but they have regarded themselves as rule-bound.
Trump and Miller are not the first to direct large-scale deportation efforts.
In fact, I was secretary when Obama was given the nickname Deporter-in-Chief, which I don't think he was very happy about.
Under the Obama administration, Homeland Security Secretary Janet Napolitano oversaw record levels of deportations.
So we set clear priorities. Those who were in the country illegally, who had committed other crimes, those who were known gang members or security threats, and those who we caught within 120 miles of the border, we would actually put them into deportation before they got into and settled in the United States.
They've eliminated those priorities, which is why you see these bottlenecks and why you end up seeing the system not working the way that they want it to, because when you go after everybody, you end up stuck.
In the spring of 2025, reports circulated that Miller was frustrated with the pace of deportations. Using his influence within DHS, he pushed to expand immigration raids far beyond the southern border.
And so on a day-to-day basis, you're going to see exponentially larger numbers of illegal aliens being arrested and removed from the interior. Yes.
It was an unprecedented move, enabled by a massive infusion of cash into an agency with little oversight, now under the direction of Miller.
And that money, coupled with the legal authority that they've had since the 9/11 attacks and since the creation of the Department of Homeland Security, allow them to do their worst.
So Stephen Miller is just calling up Border Patrol agents and telling them what to do.
Yells at them. He set the 3,000 arrests per day quota.
He's the brains in the White House right now. Because the truth is, Trump doesn't give a about any of this.
Over the following months, Miller oversaw the deployment of federal agents in immigration enforcement operations in at least 10 cities, including Chicago, Portland, Oregon, and Charlotte, North Carolina. In Los Angeles, a senior Border Patrol officer, Gregory Bavino, was recorded telling agents to aggressively detain anyone who made physical contact with them.
Arrest as many people that touch you
as you want to. Those are the general orders all the way to the top. Everybody gets it if they touch you. You hear what I'm saying?
These are federal law enforcement agents. They have a badge. They're all authorized to carry guns, etc. But to me, that also requires certain standards of professional behavior. And they lost all of that because everything was about, let's just up the numbers, let's just up the numbers.
The brazen nature of the civil rights violations, pulling people out of the street, forcing them down, forcing them to submit to having their face scanned, breaking car windows, pepper spraying into a car with a baby in the back seat. I mean, none of this was imaginable.
When you turn something into a crisis and analogize it to a war, what you're really doing is creating license to behave like a military dictatorship and not like a society governed by laws.
Americans began turning out in huge numbers to protest enforcement operations in their cities. And as the opposition to these operations grew, Miller took to television, claiming that those protesting immigration enforcement were terrorists.
You have impeding law enforcement, you have seditious conspiracy, you have a conspiracy to deprive of rights, you have assault against law enforcement officers, but all of this meets the hallmark, textbook definitions of domestic terrorism.
And speaking to ICE officers directly.
You have federal immunity in the conduct of your duties.
It's not a professional law enforcement agency anymore. They just follow the orders of Miller, the outcomes that Miller wants. That is what guides their choices. Really, you can draw a line from statements like that to what then happens on the ground in Minneapolis and people being beaten and shot.
In Minneapolis, Miller directed his largest enforcement operation, deploying more than 3,000 Border Patrol and ICE officers in what they dubbed Operation Metro Surge.
Operation Metro Surge is the perfect storm of an immigration enforcement agency that's turned into basically an internal security force, and a White House that has given orders to arrest as many immigrants as you can, and anybody who gets in your way is an enemy of this administration.
If you want to use the word invasion, that's what it felt like, and that's what it looked like.
Across the country, hundreds of people protesting ICE have been arrested, and many of them charged with impeding federal officers.
This is ICE's detention facility in Minneapolis. Protesters have been out here since early this morning. Security forces have told them to disperse and have threatened to use tear gas. They're bringing in more officers now. Here they come, and they're wearing masks.
More than 50 protesters were arrested in one day alone here.
Might as well be the Ku Klux Klan. These people from ICE, they have no respect for us. They have no respect for the Constitution of this country.
They're a secret police force, and they're doing whatever the hell they want to do.
At least 146,000 immigrants with no criminal charges have been arrested during these operations, according to the Washington Post.
It just didn't surprise me at all to hear that Stephen Miller was doing everything he could behind the scenes to show raw, villainous power in the streets of America.
He is very antagonistic against immigrants, but there's one group that I think he's more antagonistic to than immigrants, and it is the allies of immigrants, people who have privilege and choose to use that privilege to stand up for the rights of their vulnerable neighbors.
On January 7, 2026, an ICE officer in Minneapolis shot and killed 37-year-old mother of three, Renee Good. He claims she failed to comply with his orders.
No! No! Shame! Shame! Oh my God! What the
And just over 2 weeks after that, Border Patrol agents shot and killed 37-year-old nurse Alex Pretti, who'd been filming them and attempting to help a woman they pushed over. Shortly after Pretti was killed, Stephen Miller accused him of being a domestic terrorist.
A terrorist is not a protester in Minneapolis.
What do we want? What do we want? And when do we want it?
We went to a protest just days after Pretti's killing.
It's hard for me to capture for you how big this protest is, but I can't see the end of it yet, and it's been going for a while, flooding down this major street, and it goes down that way and that way, and it's just everywhere you look. It's people here for this march. This is a massive statement by the people of Minneapolis.
We cannot have these people killing our neighbors, our friends, our people in the streets.
So it's not about whatever they claim it's about. This is to send a message that to scare us into submission, and we're refusing to be scared into submission.
It felt like an American city was attacked by the federal government. And thank God that American city fought back.
Minneapolis became a turning point in the administration's immigration agenda. It led Congress to withhold funding from DHS, triggering the longest shutdown in the department's history and forcing a reckoning over its very existence.
I think it's worth noting that 2 native-born white Americans were murdered in the streets of Minneapolis by federal agents carrying out Miller's will, basically for exercising their First Amendment rights.
There is blood on the hands of Stephen Miller and this White House. And the really disturbing thing is that they keep going. They have not learned a lesson, and they have never apologized.
Is the country safer or better because of what's happened under DHS in the last year? And my conclusion is absolutely not.
The shootings also set off a chain of demotions, which included the Commander-at-Large of Border Patrol, Gregory Bovino, and the Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem. But the push for accountability over the administration's immigration enforcement operations has failed to reach the man who set them in motion.
The DHS Secretary at the time, Kristi Noem, is gone. Greg Bovino is gone. Todd Lyons from ICE is gone. Stephen Miller is still there, and every week continues to bring a new policy, a new part of his agenda.
We sent multiple interview requests to Stephen Miller, and we also sent the White House a list of questions.
Your call has been forwarded to voicemail. The person you're trying to reach is not available.
They responded with this statement. Stephen Miller is one of President Trump's most trusted and longest-serving aides. Stephen has worked relentlessly to expeditiously implement every facet of the President's America First agenda, and he will continue to do so. The President loves Stephen, and the White House staff respects him tremendously.
Stephen Miller is probably at the peak of his power, but he's not a cabinet secretary. He's never been a member of Congress, and he can continue to wield power in the White House while putting forward other people really as the pawns, the chess pieces. The face before the American people may change. Stephen Miller is always the man behind that face.
I looked down and noticed blood gushing out of my arms and legs, and I realized I had been shot multiple times.
In April, the House Committee on Homeland Security called on Miller and Border Czar Tom Homan to hear testimony of victims of abuse by immigration agents carrying out their orders.
I approached the building with my arms outstretched and quoted Jesus to the agents, urging them to repent, for the kingdom of God is near. The masked agents opened fire on me, shooting me at least 7 times in the head, in the face, and the body with pepper balls.
Neither Miller nor Homan came to the meeting.
Stephen Miller is a coward. Tom Homan is a coward. Not only have they not come to this hearing, they haven't testified in front of any committee in Congress during this administration.
Committee stands in recess.
I don't think Republican elected officials go after him because he's the mastermind behind Trump's signature policy. If you go after Miller, you're kind of hitting Trump.
I would think that if Trump were thinking rationally about his own political fortunes, one of the smartest things he could do would be to sack Miller. The best explanation is that Trump appreciates Miller's loyalty.
What President Trump has done on border security and public safety is a national miracle that will be studied not only for generations, but for centuries to come. Thank you, President Trump.
Thank you, Steve. He has survived by approximating power, by staying close to power, and by ultimately seeing when power is shifting.
Thank you all. Thank you for the question.
Even if Miller leads the administration, his mark on the United States will likely be felt for years to come.
It's hard not to argue that Miller has been tremendously successful at damaging, perhaps mortally damaging, the idea of America as an open, welcoming, and pluralistic society. There's a very real sense in which we've lost our democracy and our freedom as Americans for the sake of Miller's agenda.
I think we're going to have to reckon with him. He can't simply fade away or find the next powerful person. He has to be reckoned with.
And God bless the United States of America. Thank you.